Yo, what's up guys, it's Negan from Vikings War of Clans. It's been a while since I've done a tutorial type video, so here it goes. Today we are going to talk about how to defend your scouts while you are in regular troop gear. We've covered this before a good while back, but it's time to revisit this subject, so let's get started with the video. Alright guys, so before we begin, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. Hit that bell notification so you know when I am doing my live streams, when a new video is out. And if you guys want direct notifications, you can always join my Discord server, which will be in the description down below. Alright, so like I mentioned, it's actually been quite some time since I've actually made a tutorial video to try to help defend your town or just improve as a player in general. So today we're going to talk about defending your scouts while you're in your regular troop gear. About 2 years ago I made this video right here, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, but so much has changed within those 2 years that I wanted to revisit this topic. Now, when I made this video, I was a very small player. As you could see, I was 242 billion influence. That was a very small number. Big back, I wouldn't say big, but it was biggish back in the day, but this in terms of now is very small. So yeah, so now things have changed quite a bit. I'm actually 3.6 trillion influence, so there is quite a big difference from then to now. I've grown quite a bit and I am playing with a big clan. So let's talk about my scouts real quickly. So not too long ago, Rhett played against Spartak, and Spartak is quite a strong clan and there are some pretty big players there. Well, I was unshielded and I think I was away from my computer, but I actually got my scout zeroed. And I'm going to talk about how many troops I had at that time and what he killed specifically, but how many shards I got in return for him killing basically my scouts. So currently, if you look at my scouts, I have 1.5 billion scouts of T2s, 4.1 billion scouts of T4s, and then that's it basically. I don't have anything else. And then I have a bunch of troops that will defend my city and my town. Now, when I got zeroed, this was the specific amount of troops that I had in my town. I had about 1.3 billion T3s. I had 2 billion T4s, 2 billion T5s, I think like 300 or 400 million T6s, and like 60 million T7s. I think that's it. So altogether, I had 5 billion scout troops, a mix of T3s to about T6s. Now, more T3s, 4s, and 5s than the T6s themselves, but that's the mixture of troops that I had. Now, this guy, he sent quite a lot of attacks at me, and he was able to zero my scouts out. I was able to accumulate about 200 million shards from those scout attacks that this guy did. So will this tutorial help you to defend and make just as many shards or more than me? I don't know. But what I do know is for the regular event, if you want to make sure that your scouts will be able to defend against those players that want to see what you have inside your town, I will be able to help you with that. But if you decide to do what I did, which is leave your town open for attacks, there's still a possibility of your scouts being zeroed just like me, but it's always good to have the ability to hide what your troops have in town so that your enemy doesn't know what you have, and you can try to avoid being burned if they decide to try to onslaught you or they just want to see what you got to be able to do harm to you essentially. So let's talk about what is needed to be able to defend your scouts while you are in regular fighting gear. So let's look into the knowledge tree first. So under main knowledge, you want to obviously try to get your heroes done and your invader tree done and your military tree done. But when you go into espionage, in here you want to get all this finished. And back then, when I first made that video, I suggested that these be a minimum of level 12. I would recommend to get it maxed out now, just because there's a lot of percentages that have increased since I made that last video. So if you can max these out to 15, perfect. I don't think it'd be as expensive to do compared to like some of the secret knowledges that are out now. So get this maxed out to 15, which would be very beneficial for you guys to be able to defend a lot better. When you have this maxed out, you have a percentage of 150% to be able to defend your town. So yeah, max it out if possible. I would say maybe minimum 13, 14 level if you can't do all 15. But I think this isn't as expensive to do compared to what the secret knowledge is now. The other section that you want to also increase is your Valkyrie citadel under the scouts. If you click on that, really you don't need to do all of them. I don't have my T8s done, but in reality, all you really need to do to finish is up to T6, because when you're defending, you don't really need T6s or T7s to defend. T4s and T5s would actually do the trick, but make sure you max these out. Max out your T3s, your T4s, your T5s, T6s if you want to use a T6 wall. I wouldn't say T7s because that would increase your influence and that might not be what you want to do. So your best bet to be able to keep your influence low but also to be able to defend your town is to try to max out your T3s, T4s, and T5s. T6s I would say is more of a personal option for you guys, but I would say maximum T5s, max that out, because you'll be able to have lower influence and have a bigger amount of troops in your town by having these in there. It will still give you a decent amount of influence, but not as much as having T6s or T7s. Now in terms of what I have on my hero for equipment, so this is my hero. I usually have this set up when I'm defending my scouts, but in terms of what's inside, so I have level 9 for my gear, but here itself I have just basic melee, offense, health, and defense. I don't have a total defense, and which I could do. If I were to add a total defense or total health, then that would also increase the defense of my scouts. So that could be an option that you could do, or health, defense, health. And by having those total defense or total health percentages in your setup, it would also help defend your scouts that you also have. Now if you decide to go that route, it will make your main troops that you fight with a little bit weaker, just because you'll be losing a 31%, if you have this maxed out, a 31% for either health, defense, or offense. Probably offense if you get rid of the offense, or if you get rid of the defense or health. Again, it all depends on what you decide to do with mixing this around. So to give you an idea specifically for offense, this is the same for whether it's defense or health. Your total offense will be 22%, and then here it says total defense is increased to 8.5%, and then troop offense and an onslaught and troop offense when capturing fortress is 15.5%. So by having this replace, let's just say my total offense or my defense, one of those, if I replaced one of those, I will have a total offense of 22% for all the troops that I have inside my town, and same thing for total defense of 8.5% of all my troops inside the town. Now if I were to do an example of Tourmaline level 3, it would give me a total defense of 26.5% for all my troops, whether it be my melee or my scouts, and then also will increase my infirmary capacity to 12.5%, which for me isn't really a big necessity, but by having this instead of offense as an example, I can have my defense and health for my troop specific gear, and then I can have this total defense replace my offense, which will then give me a 26.5% increase on all my troops inside my town, including my scouts. And if I were to do this 12 times, then it increases that percentage by quite a bit as well, which will then make my troops for my scouts a lot stronger when I'm defending. But again, I will lose a little bit of strength when it comes to my melee troops, because they are losing a percentage that is specifically just for them in that gem section of my troops. Now, other factors to also take into consideration when making your town stronger when you're defending your scouts, but you're also in your troop regular gear. Maxing out specific assiers will also help you. There are permanent boosts that you can get when you max out some of your assiers. Another section that you can also work on, depending on, again, your castle, is your mine and your stone. Now I have more farms than mine and stones, but because I have mine and stone, this will help increase my my total health by a percentage and my total defense as well. So by increasing your mines and your stones in your town, and depending on how many you have, you will also be able to increase the strength there. Another section that you can also increase is your watchtower, which is just right here. By increasing this, you will increase your town defense bonus as well. When it's maxed out, it's at 65%, so that's another ability to be able to increase the defense of your town. Now there are going to be two other big sections that you're going to want to also work on if you guys are new. If you guys aren't, you've already got most of these done, but having most of these achievements finished and maxed will help you with your task, essentially, of becoming a stronger player. So try to get this maxed out as much as you can. I know a lot of it is very time consuming, kind of like planner is very time consuming. I don't have it fully maxed out, I only have it up to level 6, but if I were to increase this, my town would be a lot stronger. Right now it's only at 62%, so I can definitely have lots of room for improvement in that section. So that's something I want to try to finish as well, to be able to just be stronger, and this will help my total health of my town, which will also help my scouts itself. Now another big factor is Helheim. Now Helheim was a horrible grind. It was tough to try to finish. I know a lot of people had a lot of issues with Helheim, and we've been told that there may be some more coming down the road with Helheim. I'm assuming that we're going to have some more levels unlocked, and we're going to have the ability to essentially do more work in Helheim, which is not going to be fun. But when you finish your Helheim, if it's maxed out, you get a lot of percentages in here. So as an example, scout defense is 45%, total defense goes up to 40%, scout health is 70%, total health 15%. So that's just one example of this building here if you max it out. So by completing this, you get a bunch of bonuses as well. So I would recommend grinding through this. I know a lot of us have it mostly done, but there are still a few people out there that are still grinding away to try to get level 10 finished. If you are just starting off, this is a bit of a pain, so good luck with this, but it's definitely needed to be able to help your town just be that much stronger. Now when it comes to your secret knowledge, it obviously comes in two stages, first stage and second stage. What I would recommend, depending on what type of clan you are in, if you're one that does a lot of fighting in towers, I would recommend starting with Fortress 1. If you're not in a clan that does a lot of tower fighting, then I would just stick with starting with your specific troop type, which will give a bit of an increase there. I started with Fortress 1 just because I do a lot of tower fighting, but by doing Fortress 1, you also get scout defense and scout offense. Now when we get to this point here, I'll make a separate video talking about you know, the secret knowledges, just because they're a bit of a pain to which one to start with. But I would focus again on what type of fighting type you are. And I wish I could restart this. I wish I could redo it differently, just because now I'm struggling to get offense finished, which is going to cost me a pretty penny essentially, whereas I could have done my town last because I didn't really need the town finished. But anyways, getting back on topic about scouts, by getting your health, defense, and offense increased, you will make your overall strength for your entire town much stronger. So if you can get this done, it will also benefit not only your main troop types, if you're range, killers, siege, melee, it will also make your scouts in your town that much stronger as well. Now I'm going to share a screenshot with you guys here. I've covered the name of the person that shared this with me, so thank you for sharing this with me to this person, but I didn't want to reveal his name, but here we see that he had 239 million scouts killed, but he said that, and this is during Jot, But he said when he went into Jaw, he had about 1.3 billion troops at the start of Jaw of scouts alone, and then he also defends with regular fighting troops. Now these are the specific numbers he had when he went into Jot. So he said that he had again 1.3 billion troops, and it was a mix of T5s and T6s, but mostly T3s and T1s. So as an example, he said he had 100 million T5s, T6s, and T7s, so there alone is 300 million. He had 200 million T4s, and then the rest were T3s and T1s. So let's talk about this setup essentially. So what he had was a bunch of T1s and a bunch of T3s as his wall. If I were in his position, I would change my scout setup quite a bit. T1s, we all know, are the easiest things to kill. Now, they are the cheapest to make, but if you're a person that cares about stats and all that, you're gonna have horrible stats if you use your T1s as your meat shield. Will it be beneficial in the long run? Possibly, but they're super easy to kill, so I wouldn't recommend having T1s as a main focus for a meat wall. Now, T3s, on the other hand, they're still cheap to make, but they're stronger than your T1s. So I would recommend having a decent meat wall of T3s. So what I would recommend is having a bigger T3 wall, T4, and T5 wall. So by having this, you can have a decent meat wall of T3s. They're not as expensive as 4s or 5s to train. So let's talk about how he could have done this a little bit differently, and how he could have maybe had a little bit more of a better result and make his scouts stretch that much longer. So what I would recommend in this situation is have a bigger T3 wall, a T4 wall, and a T5 wall. I wouldn't really worry about the T6s and T7s. I would have minimal, I don't know, less than 100 million for sure, because they're not going to do as much damage compared to these guys, but you can definitely reap the rewards if you have a decent T3, 4, and 5 wall. So what I would recommend for someone around his size, which is 544 billion influence, is I would say probably a 1.3 billion T3 wall, maybe even 2 billion T3 wall, to be able to keep it going, make that stretch, and then have a 2 billion T4 wall and a 2 billion T5 wall. But altogether, his losses will be much less. He'll kill more of his troops, because I'm betting this guy was probably sending somewhere between 40 and 60 million T7s at a time if he were to hit with T7s. But yeah, like I would have a wall of like 2 billion of each, which shouldn't really increase your influence that high. If you had T7s at that range of amount of troops, then yeah, your influence is going to be pretty high. But your T3s and 4s and 5s won't make a big chunk of an influence change. It'll just make that meat wall much bigger and harder to break as well. It'll just make your overall stretch of the overall stretch of the scout wall last that much longer. Now, looking back, this was very different back in the day. If you take a look at this, this was a defense I did against this guy called Pabli. He was 687 billion influence and I was 113. I had a scout wall of 65 million scouts, where I had 51 million of those as T4s. Now, this person killed quite a bit of my scout wall for these guys, like 12 million, which isn't that big, but overall my T4 scouts did its job, and I reaped the rewards of this specific defense here. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helped someone out there. If you guys have any other recommendations to also make your scouts that much stronger to defend while you're in regular fighting gear, please comment down below in the description. So yeah, anyways, I'll catch you guys later. Take care, peace out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.